The medical bay of the Celestial Traverse hummed with its usual sterile efficiency, automated systems monitoring the vital signs of crew members across 12 different species. Dr. Yalvex, the station's Veltharian chief medical officer, had seen many peculiar things during his 2 decades aboard the vessel, but nothing quite prepared him for the alert that flashed across his console that afternoon. Cub alert. Unauthorized juvenile in Medbay sector. 7B Yalvex's triple-jointed fingers flew across the haptic interface. Cubs, juvenile members of any species, were strictly prohibited from wandering medical facilities without guardian supervision. The safety protocols were ironclad, established after the infamous incident where a Krallian youngling had accidentally activated a bone regeneration matrix and fused its arm to a wall panel. The security feed showed something that made Yalvex's secondary heart skip a beat. A small Threskin predator cub, no more than 3 solar cycles old, was trotting through the corridor with a bundle of medical bandages clutched in its 4-fingered paws. Threskins were apex predators from a death world, their young possessing razor-sharp claws and developing hunting instincts from birth. And this one was headed directly toward the human quarters. "By the eternal void," Yalvex muttered, immediately triggering the emergency response protocol. Humans were the newest addition to the Galactic Collective, and their reputation preceded them, simultaneously fragile and impossibly resilient, prone to catastrophic injury, yet somehow surviving encounters that would kill most species. If a Threskin cub attacked a human, he didn't want to imagine the diplomatic nightmare. Yalvex rushed toward Sector 7B, his lab coat billowing behind him. The corridor cameras tracked the cub's progress. Strangely, the small predator didn't seem aggressive. Its ear tufts were forward in a posture of curiosity rather than hostility, and it moved with purpose, as if on a mission. When Yalvex rounded the corner, he stopped dead. The scene before him defied every protocol, every understanding of interspecies behavior he'd accumulated over his career. The Threskin cub, Kivrin, he recognized the distinctive copper striping now, sat on its haunches beside Nora Ellis, the human engineer who'd transferred aboard 3 months ago. The woman was seated on the floor, her back against the bulkhead. Her left hand wrapped in a hasty bandage that was already soaking through with red human blood. But that wasn't the shocking part. Kivrin was carefully, delicately, pulling fresh bandages from the bundle with its teeth and laying them beside Nora's knee. The cub made a soft, chittering sound, not the hunting cry Threskins were famous for, but something gentler, almost concerned. "Thank you, little one," Nora said softly, her voice tight with pain. She picked up one of the bandages Kivrin had provided and began unwrapping her injured hand. "You're a good helper." Yalvex's translator couldn't quite capture the warmth in her tone, but Kivrin seemed to understand. The cub's tail, capable of delivering stunning blows to prey, swished in what Yalvex recognized as contentment. "Ms. Ellis," Yalvex called out, trying to keep his voice calm. "Please remain still. I'm going to approach slowly. That cub is helping me," Nora finished, glancing up with those unsettlingly forward-facing predator eyes humans possessed. "Yeah, I noticed. Smart kid. Found me after I sliced my hand on a broken conduit panel." Yalvex approached cautiously, his medical instincts warring with his disbelief. Kivren glanced at him, then deliberately moved aside, giving the doctor room to examine the human. This was wrong. Threskin cubs didn't share resources. They didn't assist other species. They were territorial, instinct-driven, and their idea of play involved mock hunts and practice kills. Yet here was Kivren, watching anxiously as Yalvex knelt beside Nora. "The wound is deep," Yalvex observed, scanning it with his medical tricorder. "You'll need cellular regeneration. Why didn't you call for assistance immediately?" Nora shrugged with her uninjured shoulder. "Comms panel in that section is down. I was heading here myself when I started feeling woozy from blood loss. Sat down to rest, and next thing I know, this little guy shows up. Female, actually," Kivren's voice piped up, high and lisping through her still-developing vocal anatomy. "Mama says I'm supposed to help pack members when they're hurt." Yalvex's mind reeled. The cub could speak standard. At 3 cycles? Pack members? He repeated carefully. Kivrain chittered again, that strange soft sound. "Nora smells like pack. She shares food, teaches me human words, shows me engine things. The cub moved closer, pressing her small, furred body against Nora's leg. Pack helps pack. And there it was. The human had done the impossible, the infuriatingly, characteristically human thing. She'd befriended a predator cub from a species that didn't form bonds with aliens. She'd turned a creature programmed by evolution to hunt and kill into something that fetched bandages and offered comfort. Yalvex worked quickly, properly cleaning and sealing the wound while Kivrin watched with fascinated attention. The cub asked questions, dozens of them, about human blood composition, why humans needed bandages, whether the healing would hurt. Nora answered each one patiently, even as her face paled from blood loss. "How did you do this?" Yalvex asked quietly as he worked. "The Threskins are notoriously isolationist. Their young are kept separate from other species, specifically because of aggression concerns." Nora smiled, reaching down to scratch behind Kivrin's ear tufts with her good hand. The cub leaned into the touch, a deep rumbling purr emanating from her chest. "I didn't do anything special," Nora said. "I just treated her like a kid, talked to her, let her hang around the engine room when her parents were working, shared my lunch. Kids are kids, you know. Doesn't matter if they've got fur, scales, or skin. They're curious, they want attention, and they respond to kindness. Most species maintain strict boundaries between juveniles and aliens," Yalvex pointed out, "for safety." "Maybe that's the problem," Nora replied. "We spend so much time being safe that we forget to be human, or Threskin, or whatever." She winced as Yalvex applied the regeneration matrix. "Kivrin's a good kid. She just needed someone to see that." Yalvex finished the procedure in silence, his mind churning. The Galactic Collective had debated for years whether to admit humans, their propensity for violence, their emotional volatility, their reckless disregard for proper protocol. Yet here was evidence of something else, a strange capacity for connection that transcended biology, that saw past teeth and claws to the individual beneath. As he packed up his equipment, Kivren carefully gathered the used bandages, carrying them to the medical waste receptacle without being asked. She returned to Nora's side, settling down with her head resting on the human's knee. "Will you report this?" Nora asked quietly. Yalvex considered. By regulation, he should. Unauthorized cub in medical facilities, potential contamination, breach of species segregation protocols. But he looked at Kivrin, at the small predator who'd fetch bandages for an injured packmate, at Nora, who'd turned instinct into compassion through nothing more than consistent kindness. "I'll report a medical incident," Yalvex said finally, "and note that a crew member provided assistance. The specifics can remain vague." Nora's smile was tired but genuine. "Thanks, Doc." As Yalvex left, he glanced back once. The human and the cub sat together in the corridor, Nora explaining the finer points of blood coagulation, while Kivrin listened with rapt attention. Two predators from different worlds, finding common ground in the space between stars. Perhaps, Yalvex thought, the humans would fit into the collective after all. They just did it their own way, messy, emotional, and inexplicably effective. The Medbay alert cleared from his console. He marked it resolved and moved on to his next patient, but the image stayed with him. A cub carrying bandages, and a human who taught her that pack meant more than species. It meant choosing to help, even when instinct said otherwise. That more than any technology or treaty was what made humans extraordinary.